Today marks day 5 of the search and rescue efforts in central Texas, where the growing death toll from the devastating flooding has reached over 100. Hundreds of volunteers, as well as federal and state teams, have been arriving to help with one of the largest rescue operations in Texas history. Now, President Trump is scheduled. He said he's going to visit on Friday, depending on the situation on the ground, because a presidential visit certainly creates a lot of activity, and he doesn't want to be a distraction. We're going to go to the phone line where we have Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick of Texas. Lieutenant Governor Patrick, thanks for taking a moment to join us.
You bet, Tony. Sorry, I couldn't link up through the Zoom, so forgive me. I'm on the phone today.
No problems. I know you've been quite busy, and I'll just say this because we've known each other for a number of years, and I know you, as a believer, a follower of Christ, you have a heart of compassion. In fact, yesterday you were going to be joining us, but you were there on site at the Mystic Campground, and you've been ministering to the families and those who have are facing this tragedy personally. Give us the latest there from on the ground there in Texas.
So, Tony, first of all, new numbers today. We now have, and these numbers change literally every few minutes before the end of the interview, it can change. So we have 109 confirmed that are deceased. From the 26 girls at Camp Mystic, we now have identified all or found all but 5. And there's still the camp counselor, a teenager, missing. So that list is shrinking to bring closure to families, but there's still more to find. Then you have all of the people who came for this big 4th of July celebration, and you don't know everyone's there. You can say, well, go to the offices to see who checked in to buy the trailers. Well, the offices are gone. They were washed away. But slowly but surely, we've been gathering names because people call in and say, I know they were going to the fireworks show and from there. Today, now, we've added 161 in total that are missing. And these are new names we're getting in. We put out a call if someone is missing that you think may have gone there, because we don't know unless someone calls us and tells us they're missing. And so now that we're on Wednesday, some people have started to call the hotline, and we had about 700 calls, and some were duplicates, triplicates, and some were not involved in this and ended up showing at home. We're down to 161. And that includes the 30 or 40 we had yesterday. So in essence, we've added quite a few to the missing list. Again, they may not have been there, but someone who knows them, a friend, a coworker, they're missing them. They don't know where they are. They think they may have been there. So a huge number missing has gone up. So 109 were deceased, and 161 now we're still looking for. And
at this point, it's been mostly a recovery operation. I mean, this far into it, have we found anyone alive?
The last person, to my knowledge, and there's a lot of moving parts, so I want to be, to my knowledge, the last person we found alive was on either Friday or Saturday, and I think it may have been actually Friday. Mm-hmm. I spoke with some of the families yesterday who were still missing loved ones. And one of them texted me today, because I gave these families my cell number. I said, just call me. If you have any issues, have any questions, have any problems, you want the latest information. So I did have one of the families I met with yesterday who did text me earlier and say that they did find their loved one. But there's still, again, a number missing from the camp, and then a big number missing from around. And so when people ask
Dan,
that question,
I hate to cut you off. We're up against a break. Hold on for just a moment. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Governor, thanks for sticking with us through the break.
Sure.
But you're an old radio man, so you know when those breaks come, you got to go.
I understand.
But before I let you go, I did want to ask one more question, because this really has, I know it's, I've talked to several folks in Texas. It's really shaken a lot of the folks in Texas, but it's really gripped the nation.
Yes.
How can How can we be praying for those families and for the first responders there in Texas that continue to do this work?
Well, Tony, first, what you just said is very interesting. I made this comment to someone earlier today that, we've had many storms in Texas, and after about 3 days of coverage, the media, the mass media moves on to whatever is next. We had the storms in North Carolina. We've had tornadoes that go through. We've had all of those kinds of disasters in America. Every summer we have them. And pretty much it's a 2-day story and people move on. I think what is different in this one is the young girls, the little angels who are now in heaven, but the little angels who have been lost, those 26 campers from 8 to 15 or so, and the teenage counter, and the story there, and trying to find them, and for the first days, is there another alive? And now we've got to reunite the families. I met with some yesterday, as I mentioned to you, that the lady said to me, she said, I just need to find my granddaughter. I just need to find her. I need to know what happened to her. And so I think that has the fierceness of the storm. And now, if these other 161 that are missing, if there turned out to be fatalities, and hopefully some will fill up, they've just gone someplace else and doing something. But this will be bigger than the hurricane we've had in terms of loss of life. I think that's part of it, Tony. And how you can pray, you have to, yesterday, I just told him a long time ago, my pastor said, when you go into a situation like this, just be there, just hug them. I know the listeners can't be there and hug them, but in their prayers they can hug them. In their prayers they can be there with them, so that the people know the country is with them. It really matters that, I said to each one of them, I said, I'll never, because they all gave me their names, I gave my cell, I got their cell, that I'll never forget by name and by photograph, because these people are just shattered. Yeah. And then all of the people who are lost that were there camping, again, those we don't know as much, but I think that's why. And so the prayers, and for these rescue teams, Tony, this is a hard job.
Yes, it is.
Think about your job going through the muck and the mud and the heat and everything with it, and you're walking miles and miles and miles, and your success is that you found the deceased body. That's your success. Yeah. Because you're trying to bring closure for a family. But imagine the toll when you have success, because that is success. We're trying to recover everybody. And the governor said today, and I've said before, we're not going to stop until we find everyone. And so the prayers are for everyone. Just give us strength and courage and grace during this time. There are lots of questions that are being asked, and I don't know how much time we have left, but very quickly, when I went to you tell me how much time to give me the countdown.
You go right ahead, Governor.
When I went to camp yesterday, Mystic, and I got a tour with the family. So it was owned by a mom and dad, probably in their 70s, and then their adult children running it. This camp was built in 1926. It's legendary in Texas. Grandmothers and mothers and daughters and granddaughters. It's like a passage of life. And so I had Edward take me around, and he was the one trying to save all the lives, Tony. And the water went from his ankle to his knee to his hip to his neck in a blur. And as that water rushed in, 30 feet of water, it bounced off the canyon wall and ricocheted back, creating an undertow. And he's trying to get the girls out, and the next thing he knows, they're all floating or jammed into the trees 100 yards away, and hanging on desperately for life. And the water receded at some point, and they were able to get down and try to take him up into this building. It was built in 1939. It's 86 years old. It looked like it couldn't survive the storm, and they went into the upper room. They went into the second floor where they thought they'd be safe, and then the water came back again, and it started rising to the second floor. Hundreds of them there. And they started singing Christian songs, and they started praying, and that water stopped at that second floor. And I said to Edward, who was, shattered of the 28 they lost, counting his dad, shattered. And I said, but Edward, you saved over 500. There were 750 people in that camp, about 500 and some campers, the rest staff. And I said, but you saved over 500. But but the pain is the 26. He's
Right.
focused on the 26, and the family's focused on those. So miracles did happen, and I'm always careful to say that, Tony, because I don't want to say, "What the miracle for my child?" But a lot of things happen, and we don't understand that happen this time to trust God, not question God. But amazing things happen. Young men, the rescuer, the 26-year-old you've heard about, they told me it was amazing. He got down on the ground and kneeled on his knee, eye to eye with these 8-year-olds or 12-year-olds, and talked to them at their level to get in that helicopter because they didn't know what it was all about. They had been standing, shivering in the cold, actually, standing in the mud without shoes, getting in line to get on these helicopters. And so he got down with them and comforted them. He was an angel sent there, comforted them to take their fears away. And so there are tragic stories. If these last missing numbers are right, there's going to be somewhere near 200 that have lost their life when they're found. But there were 15 other camps, Tony, 15 others with children, and they were all accounted for. Not one was lost.
Wow.
And there will be stories of heroism and inspiration, and people stand on the rock of their faith in times like this. I do. It's hard for me. I've been through a lot of these situations. So we stand on the rock of our faith. We put our trust in Jesus, and that will get everyone through. And so the prayers of your listeners. Just pray for, don't stop praying in a week.
Right.
Give us 30 days. Give us 30 days of prayers, because this is going to go on much longer than that. But give us 30 days if we can of remembering the families who have lost loved ones, and the who have found them, and how hard that is, and the entire community that's gone through and will go through. I told one person, 100 years, whatever July 4th, 100 years from now, there will be a moment of silence for this day.
But Governor Patrick, we will do that. We'll be praying for the next 30 days, and I want to encourage you. I just want to thank you for joining us and encourage you in your role, the ministry that you do to folks, and your compassion and your kindness. And thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Thank you.